You see it every day. The first dollar you earned from your first customer. Now it hangs on your wall at headquarters. A reminder of where you started and the promise of what's still to come. In part because you rely on Sandy Spring Bank to help you make the right choices on real estate and equipment loans, treasury management, and commercial services. We believe real banking is a conversation. Let's talk about your business. Visit sandyspringbank.com/business. Credit products offered by Sandy Spring Bank.
It kind of makes me sad because I love Bruce Willis. And so, I think bringing Harrison Ford in was fine. I mean, like I said, it made me sad because I just don't like seeing him get old. But I do think he did a good job. I think he was great. And he had some funny lines when they were flying the helicopters and he's in the helicopter with Yang and Trench. And he's like, in the helicopters behind him, and he's like, Yang, hit something, and so he starts like firing at the other copters, and one of them crashes, and he's like, good, and I was like, it was funny. Oh, and the whole thing where he doesn't understand what Jason Statham is saying.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was great.
Like,
that was great.
What goddamn language is that?
Yes.
Stop mumbling. I can't understand a word this guy's saying. Like, that was really funny. I liked that. I thought that was cute. So I was happy to have him there. I did miss Bruce Willis, but, I think that bringing Harrison Ford in was a fun thing to do.
Well, I was going to say, Beefy Beer just said that Stallone's quote was that he was greedy and lazy, apparently. So that's
okay. Yeah,
that's
I knew
what
it had
happened to him.
Something to do with greed.
Yeah.
I remember there being something about greed, which just makes me sad. I hate that shit.
Oh, here we go. Bruce Willis was set to reprise his role of Mr. Church at a salary of $3 million, $750,000 per day for 4 consecutive days. When he demanded $1 million a day per day instead, Stallone and the producers refused, and he left the film. Within 3 days, Stallone was able to get Harrison Ford to replace. Ford's short notice quip, as used in the trailer, alludes to the events, which were well publicized long before the. So they made a joke about it. That's
seriously.
One.
He can't step out of his house for less than $1 million a day. What is that?
Yeah, I don't know what that was about.
$750,000 a day. That's more than I'll make in my lifetime. Jackass.
Yeah.
That's just a little bit ridiculous.
And I guess the other thing I had forgotten about is that Wesley Snipes was supposed to play Terry Crews's part, but couldn't because of the whole tax evasion thing. And so, you remember they made a joke about that in the movie, right? They were what were you locked up for? And he said tax evasion.
Tax evasion, yeah.
Yeah, and so, it's just and I just feel like there's a certain irony in that. I feel like if I'm on a film called The Expendables, I'm not going to be fighting over pay because, truth be told, I'm expendable at this point. If I'm in the movie The Expendables, so I should know I can be replaced. So I don't know.
He was, and it worked out well. One more beef I have with this, and then I'm done. But way back, if you go way back to when this movie, before it even came out, there's a poster for this film that includes the entire cast. It's like every name that's in this film is on this poster, and then of course the names are across the top, except, and it breaks my heart, Robert Davi. His name is at the top of the poster, but his face is not there.
Really? I didn't notice that.
It's like he didn't show up for picture day at school or something.
I'm going to see if I'm.
And when it's clear, it's probably the whole thing is photoshopped anyway. I really don't think they got everybody together to post.
Yes.
But it makes me sad because his name is at the top of the poster, but you can't work his face in there.
You're right.
And I love him, and the whole time I'm looking at it, I'm like, surely he's in here somewhere. Like, he's the only one.
He didn't make it.
Kellen Lutz on there.
Yeah.
And Hemsworth wasn't the...
No, Hemsworth is dead, I think. Or was there another Hemsworth? Yeah, but whoever these other people are that we don't know.
Whoever the other guy is. But you can't fit Robert Davi. What the hell?
Yeah. I have a little name drop story about Robert Davi that to throw in here. I don't know if I should, but when I reviewed a film that he did with Dolph Lundgren called I think it was called Battle for Redemption or I don't remember. It was. It's horrible that I can't remember it. I'm going to be talking about the movie, but anyway, Robert Davi's character was supposed to be from England, and he was supposed to be like his nephew was played by what's his face? Oh, I can't. Vinny Jones. But his character's English accent would go in and out. And I made a comment about that it seemed like he was kind of like he had it sometimes and he kind of didn't, if maybe he just wasn't sure. So he commented on the blog and he said, well, what I was going for was my character had been in the United States for a long time, and I'd noticed that Brits who live in the United States for a long time, their accent gets thicker when they're around other Brits, and so I was trying to make it thicker for Vinny. And so I went back in and I revised my review and wrote that part in to give him credit for that. I was so happy that he, I was stoked that he even commented, that say something. But I mean, he was very gracious about it. I don't remember if he made a comment. He may have emailed me about it. Either way, but
what a cool thing, though. I mean, and what a thoughtful thing for him to do with his character.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunate that it maybe didn't come across that way, but it's a good idea. It's a very thoughtful idea.
Well, exactly, and I was like, well, if that's what he was going for, I'm going to give him credit for it, I was mad at myself for not thinking of it. So yeah, so it's funny when they're gracious, when an actor is gracious enough to even go on the page and say something like that. It's how do you not love that? I mean, I loved him before that, of course. I've always been a Davi fan, but that was just like, wow, okay, Mr. Davi, you're what a great guy.
Yeah, they can't even put him on the damn poster.
I
that
know.
made me sad.
And I thought he had a nice Russian accent for this film. I thought his Russian accent really played up the whole thing that was going on with this movie. I mean, this movie had a lot of like I don't want to say yuck moments, but it was definitely kind of, I don't want to say not serious, but it had its silly moments. And I thought his Russian accent, I thought he was kind of having fun with it, and he seemed to get what this movie was about. And he and Gibson were pretty good together.
Oh yeah, and yeah, I mean, but old guys.
Yeah.
I loved all the old guys.
Yes.
Because that's what these movies are about. That's the whole point.
That's the whole point. It's the whole point of it. It was like it was an Expendables movie without the Expendables, right? Exactly. It's like it was an Expendables bait and switch almost, right? It was
And then of course you've got that scene where before we go into the last battle where Antonio Banderas and Stallone are on the plane. And then he looks out and Banderas is like, who are those guys? And he's like, that's my old crew. I'm like, oh, what a shock. They
I didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming.
I never saw that coming. I didn't think they were going to come back at all. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was just going to, I thought Stallone and Banderas were just going to go through that place like Glover and Gibson before, as a nod, as almost like an irony, right? That Gibson would get taken out with his own Lethal Weapon style defeat. That's what I was expecting. So when I saw them on the tarmac, I was like, whoa, didn't see that coming.
Yeah, you got me there.
Yeah, zing. Yeah, that was, again, like that's the whole thing. It's like we knew it was going to happen, so why wait that long? Why take that much time to get us there?
Why the charade? Why give us all that extra long run time when we don't need it? And we were in Best Buy today, just wandering around as we do. And I saw a copy of Expendables 3 on Blu-ray, the unrated version. I'm like, oh, but they knew this film was going to be PG-13 before they shot it. So they went into this film to make it PG-13, as far as my understanding goes. I really don't believe that the unrated version is going to have that much extra.
No.
I really don't. And so I don't really see the point. It's not like they made it a hard R and then trimmed it down for the theater, because I'm pretty sure that decision was made early on. So I'm not really sure what kind of unrated would be there. I don't even know if it's worth it. But I was just like, oh, except that they're going to maybe try to get in the people who were disappointed by the fact that it was PG-13, and then like, oh, look, unrated version, let me jump on that.
Well, maybe that was part of Stallone's plan, was to sell an unrated version on DVD to boost DVD sales. But I don't know for sure, but I think it hurt him in the box office to make it PG-13.
I'm pretty certain that it did.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people that were upset about that. And I mean, considering, like I said, considering the two previous films had been R, it makes sense to me to
Yeah.
be upset about that, because you expect a certain level of violence in these films, or even language. Because I mean, like you said, these guys are look at these guys.
Hmm.
Do you really think they're going to be standing around a bar going like shucks and darn? I mean,
Yes.
these
Yeah.
are
Exactly.
hardcore mercenary killers. They're going to be throwing fuck around a lot,
Hmm.
and it just sort of, not that I'm saying you need it, but when you're used to it, or when you, I don't know. I just think third film in a series, bad idea.
Well, I just looked up Fast and the Furious 7 just to kind of see what that one, and that one's PG-13 too. I don't know. It seems like a lot of these must be PG-13 on some level. But man, I just
I
um,
think that maybe the action film demographic these days, that maybe they're targeting the younger folks, which I think with a lot of action films that makes sense. Maybe with the Fast and Furious films it makes sense, because fast cars and driving, and they usually have um, like newer music and stuff.
right.
But I just think with this series, the audience is us.
Yes.
The audience is us and older, or us and maybe a little bit younger, but it's mainly like around our age,
Yeah.
because we're the people who knew these guys from hard R action films in the 80s, when shit would get all kinds of blown up and messed up and
Well,
bloody.
well, that's what I was going to say. Is that I'm excited looking up. Even the first Fast and the Furious was PG-13, and like I said, that Dark Knight movie was PG-13. Like it's one of the things that everybody makes fun of about the United States, is that we love violence. Like we if you can give somebody a bloody smile in a movie, or shoot them and kill them. But if you show their boobs, if they show their boobs, or if they have sex, it's suddenly a PG-13 film. But I agree with you that there is something about the R-rate. We grew up with R-rated action films. We grew up with the
Exactly.
Rambos were R-rated, Cobra was R-rated, the Terminators. I don't know if Terminator 2 was R-rated, but I know the first Terminator was.
RoboCop was
RoboCop.
R-rated.
Oh, RoboCop was. And the funny thing about RoboCop, I think it was almost X, right, or NC-17,
Yeah.
and uh, it's funny. Like Verhoeven always jokes that the film actually became scarier when they took the blood out and made it R, because it the violence. If you watch I haven't seen the cut version in a long time, the R-rated version, because usually the version we have is the unrated version that's out now, because that was Verhoeven's cut. But if you watch the older, like for example, when that big robot, the one that was no good, shoots the guy in the office. If you watch the R-rated version, it's very scary, because you really only see the guy's face as he's getting killed, and you kind of see everybody's reaction to it. Whereas if you see the unrated version, you see all the blood, and it looks almost comical, which is what Verhoeven was going for. He wanted sort of a comic-like violence in the film. And so it's actually scarier to have it cut. But those, like you said, those were the films that we grew up with, and I just felt like that first Expendables, especially, was such a kick-ass movie that it it wasn't, the thing about it was, it wasn't like these modern PG-13 actioners. It was a kick-ass, like, throwback to the 80s and 90s that we loved. And I think you're right. The move to make it PG-13, if for whatever reason, if maybe Stallone felt like we were going to be tired of a third Expendables and we weren't going to come around to it, which I don't know how true that is. I mean, there's so many, like the franchise is back as far as action film goes. There's the Fast and Furious franchise out there. A lot of other ones are trying to make returns, like the
Well,
Transporter.
Transporter series, even though the new film is completely separate from the previous films.
Mm-hmm. But they're trying to get them back. The old franchises that we were used to are coming back. And
Taken, even though
Taken,
every one of those is exactly the same.
right? Exactly. But people like it. People like coming back for
In
that
Mission
same one.
Impossible.
Right, exactly, and I think the Expendables has that feel to it. Yes, the second one was a little bit of a downer from the first one, but I mean, I don't know how you keep that energy up from the first one. But it had so many great moments that were so much fun, like you said, with Chuck Norris in the film. Van Damme as the baddie was great. Scott Adkins as his henchman was great. Which
Oh yeah, I love
all
that.
yeah, all of that was good, and I think that is one thing that this film was missing too. Is that Mel Gibson didn't have a good henchman, and Ronda Rousey would have made a good henchman for him. If all she had to do was scowl and look angry and choke
Sold.
out,
She's
yeah,
done.
sold,
She got
choke
it.
out. All we need you to do is choke out Kellen Lutz, and that's it. You're good to go. And then bring in Zoe Bell, bring in somebody else that's somebody that's friend. I think she is somebody that would work on a level that's close to or maybe a Pam Grier, right? I mean, I don't know if Pam Grier.
Oh man. Well, they're talking about doing or have been for a while, the
Mhm.
female Expendables.
Yeah.
I forget what it's actually called. Shit, something like butter. I don't remember. But it had, and I forget the name. But anyway, the I hope they do that. I think that would be really badass. And
Well,
I forget now who the whole list of people that were going to be in it, but I think Pam Grier was being talked about. There's definitely. Oh, goddamn. She was also in the movie with Zoe Bell that we covered.
Cynthia Rothrock.
Yes.
Yes, I mean she would have been great. I get the sense that Cynthia Rothrock is not doing these movies anymore, because she sat out the Mercenaries movie. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if it was the Expendables and she is on the main team and she gets to fight Ronda Rousey, and I think Ronda Rousey would be a dream for Ronda Rousey to get her ass kicked on screen by Cynthia Rothrock or Pam Grier. I think that's something that she would love. I think for me as a guy,
I would love it.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
want Pam Grier to kick my ass. Come on.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. I mean, Pam Grier would have been great as I mean, because there isn't much. I mean, Pam Grier. I think if you give her like a beret and an army suit and some heavy duty weaponry, it would have been fantastic, to have her, and no nonsense, and Stallone's like, oh yeah, she'd been on my team before. She was, they make a joke about where she was, right? Maybe she was relaxing in Europe or something. I don't know, whatever. And but I think that would have been good. And then Ronda Rousey as the henchman, the same way Scott Adkins was the henchman. Gary Daniels and Steve Austin, two other newer guys, right, were henchmen in the first one. I think Ronda Rousey, I think you got to earn the stripe of being one of the good guys, one of the Expendables.
That's
Yeah.
an excellent point. If you want to break them in, then start them out as something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
make them the second to the Mel Gibson character, because his second didn't get to do a whole lot anyway. But
Yeah, and I think that would have been fine for I think that would have been perfect for Ronda Rousey too. And I think for us that are fans of Ronda Rousey, because I agree with you, I love her as a fighter. One of the cool things she did is that she refused to use the nickname Rowdy until Roddy Piper actually told her that was because his son is an MMA fighter. And they met one time, and he said, "No, you can use Rowdy. I give you my blessing to use it. I think it's great. You're a great fighter."
Aww.
Yeah, and so like she tweeted about him when he passed away, about how gracious he was and how cool he was as a person. So I mean, I think she has a future. I'd like to see her do movies. I'd like to see her do action films. But I think had she started out as Mel Gibson's henchman, it would have been really cool for us to see her. She wouldn't have had to do much acting wise, but she could have had some really good fight scenes. And again, I keep going back to this. She could have choked out Kellen Lutz when his team got captured.
You just really want to see that.
I think that's great. Yes. Right. BB Beard said Pam Grier is like 5'2", not too intimidating. Well, what is Stallone, like 5'3"?
He's But I tell you what, Pam Grier is fucking badass. That's
Yeah.
what, and she owns it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when she's on screen, she has a presence, and she's
Right.
demanding, and yeah, you put some artillery in her hands, and
Yeah.
she's pretty imposing.
And I mean, I think age-wise, I think she's got to be pretty close to the
But she looks fantastic.
She looks fantastic, but
oh my god,
I don't think she's young. I think she's younger than Stallone and Schwarzenegger. You know what I mean? I don't think she, so she's
but
right
old
in that.
enough to but definitely old enough to be part of the squad. You know, I mean, it's like,
Ex-
I'm not going to complain about her, you know, because she's plenty old. I mean, she's been around. She's been doing films since the 70s at
Right.
least. I mean, maybe even back to, I don't know exactly when she got started. But I know early 70s for sure. So.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I would say like she's not too old. Do you know what I mean? Like she's
No.
Yeah, she was making movies the same time Stallone was making like Rocky.
Well, hell, if Helen Mirren can do Red.
Right, exactly. Good point. That's a great point. And I think that would have been an inspired hire for this film if Pam Grier is on the team and she is, you know, part of the kick-ass team. I think it would have been, you know, I have no problem with, you know, I wasn't saying that they shouldn't have Ronda Rousey because, you know, we don't need any lady energy on the crew. I think, you know, there are women out there who have done their thing for long enough that should have been recognized, you know, that should get a chance. And I think Pam Grier is one, Cynthia Rothrock is another, who have just really killed it for a long time. And you know, they did, you know, the Expendables has a vibe of kind of like a, you know, you've earned your stripes to be on that team. And
Right.
yeah, some of the lower end guys like Randy Couture, Terry Crews, you know, they maybe them not so much, but the rest of the crew, you know, when you think of Stallone, Statham, Dolph, even Banderas did a lot of action films in the 90s after he came over from Spain. So I mean, even I think he was in a film called Assassins with Stallone, wasn't he? Or
Oh, I was about to bring that up. I love that
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, so you know, I mean, all of these guys, and so I think that was another part of it too, is that these new guys getting captured and stuff, and the passing the torch thing. Like we don't need a torch pass. We want, you know, we're coming to see Pam Grier more than we're coming to see Ronda Rousey because we grew up with Pam Grier's movies just as much, you know, or Cynthia Rothrock or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want them to pass the torch because the whole point of the Expendables
Exactly.
is that it's the old guys, and that's
Right.
what I'm going there to see. That's
Mhm.
why my ass is in the seat.
Right.
That's why you have my money.
Right.
That's what I want. And
Mhm.
you know, cutting them out for a solid chunk in the middle of the film
Mhm.
did nothing but piss me off.
Yeah. And I mean, Chris, if they only needed Bruce Willis for 4 days, I mean, and they were going to get all they needed out of Bruce Willis in 4 days, and I guess that's apparently what they did with what's his face with Harrison Ford. He must have only done 4 days too, and he was fine. You know, I mean, how many days did you need these guys for that you couldn't have them in a little bit more and the other guys in less and cut the runtime down?
Yeah, so basically what needs to happen, I guess, is I need to sit down across from Stallone
Right.
and go, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Except that's going to cost me, if I go by how much he charged people the last time he did the autograph picture thing at conventions, which was like $450 or something
Right.
insane.
Yeah.
That would cost me an arm and a leg just to ask him that question. So maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, no, it's not worth it. You can't what was I gonna say? You can't, no, I'm not saying bargain. You can't, and I keep wanting to say negotiate too. You can't reason. You can't reason with Stallone. He has his idea. I mean, I think that's though. I read in the trivia that he actually offered Mel Gibson the chance to direct the film, which would have been really fascinating to have an Oscar-winning. Well, no, Stallone isn't an Oscar-winning director. He's an Oscar-winning screenwriter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Gibson though did win a directing credit for Braveheart, didn't he?
Was it
An
yeah,
Oscar?
I believe so.
Yeah, so I mean, I love the idea of that, of an Oscar-winning director doing an Expendables film. I think that would have been fantastic too. The Braveheart guy doing that one. And actually, if he was doing the Expendables 3, there would have been a lot more torture in the film because he loves watching men get tortured. And
Well, just watch The Passion of the Christ. That shit's
exactly.
bloody as hell.
Yeah, the Passion, Apocalypto had a lot of torture. Braveheart had had a lot of torture. Those would have been. This would have been an R-rated film. Maybe that's why he declined directing it. He's like, I don't do PG-13, man. There's just I need my torture kit out.
I can't beat somebody with a cat of nine tails. I just don't want to do it.
I don't want to do it. I'm sorry. It doesn't. You know, where's Jim Caviezel? I need to get him in here and torture him a little bit more before we start. Before we start, Stallone's like, I can't afford Jim Caviezel. He costs To me, it's too much money. I'm already behind with Willis asking for an extra.
Bring me another one of those Twilight kids.
Yeah, exactly. Who was the one that was in there? The pretty boy one, or the one that played the werewolf? I bet we could have him in there. He'd be good. Yeah.
But he's got a stipulation that he can't have his shirt on for more than a couple scenes at a time.
No, I can't have the kids with the shirts off in this film. I'm the one with the shirt off. I got to show off my pecs every once in a while. Though he doesn't. I don't think he does take his shirt off in the film. He's just. No.
Stallone? No.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
But he did take off his sunglasses. Where, like in the second one, he was wearing his sunglasses through.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, was that him? Oh, Van Damme had on his sunglasses the entire time. But I think he had just had some surgery done.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
In the previous film, and what is it with these guys and their surgery too? I'm like, God, surely you just. I'm looking at Stallone and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, it just breaks my heart.
Botox.
It looks like, I told Brian, I was like, it looks like somebody put his face through a plate glass window, and he healed from it, but it's not quite right,
I think, especially with Stallone, I don't think he handled aging well at all. And maybe it's his mom, because his mom never looked like she handled it well either. She looked like she fought the age.
But, I just can't imagine that it would have been that bad.
Yeah.
Just to go with it. I just don't think it would have been that bad for him.
Yeah, I guess for him it was that bad.
I think he would have looked fine, but I guess it's just.
Yeah.
For some reason, it always sticks out more on men, like Kenny Rogers and Burt Reynolds.
Yes.
And
Kenny Rogers.
Van Damme and Stallone. It's like it always just shows on them. And of course, you have the occasional woman like Nicole Kidman for a while there. She first had some work done several years ago. It looked like someone pulled her ponytail really hard.
Yeah.
For a little while, and then her face kind of relaxed into it, and she looks good now, I think, but. For some reason, to me, it really sticks out when men do it. Yeah. And,
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Who was I thinking of that looked really, you could just really tell. But yeah, the Kenny Rogers one, I saw that one.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. I don't know if you watch Music Choice. When you do the 80s channel Music Choice, sometimes they'll play Lady, because I think it was 1980 that one came out. And so you see the pictures of him then when he was current and relevant at that time. And then like you see him in an interview now, and it's just like, wow, that's him. That is Kenny Rogers. I don't know what to do with that. It's a very fascinating thing. Like, because I mean, some guys like George Clooney, they don't seem to care. Sean Connery,
They age well, and I don't know if Harrison Ford has ever had any work done. I mean, he kind of looks like a little. I told Brian I was like, I just want to pinch his cheeks because he has a little Basset Hound cheeks.
Right.
But I mean, I think it's clear he's just going with it. But he looks great. Just go with it. And if you're a good-looking guy, you're going to continue to be a good-looking guy. But you run the risk of messing yourself up if you try too hard to hang on to it.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I think that they, Stallone, I think more than any of them, I think the whole aging thing really freaked him out. I mean, the other guy I could think of is Dolph. I don't know if he's had any work done, but I think he's one. It'll be interesting to see how he ages because he's about 10 years younger than Stallone. But I mean, he was like champion athlete, and I notice when I watch his films now, his fight scenes are a little bit slower than they used to be. His ability to do the fights are a little bit not as clean as they were. So it'll be interesting to see because he had a really great scene in the first film with Jet Li. That was a really nice one that the two of them choreographed. So very interesting to see going forward how some of these other guys are going to
It takes its toll, I mean, pretty soon, I swear, Van Damme, after doing all those splits, he's not going to be able to walk.
Yes.
I mean, it seriously takes its toll on your body after a while.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, I love Mel Gibson as a baddie, but I don't mind bringing back Van Damme as a baddie again either. I don't see what's wrong with bringing these guys back if they're dead.
No, I would love to see him. And hell, make him somebody else. I don't care.
Yeah.
I just,
Well,
I just think it's fun to see them in the movies.
What about this for part 4? Because I was trying to think. I was looking at part 4, and I was saying I think the shelf life may be gone on this. Smokey Robinson is pretty jacked up too, but his music is great. He performs around here. Well, like when he does shows, he still charges like $75 a show. But I would love to see Smokey Robinson in concert. I love Smokey Robinson, but no.
Where did that come from?
Beefy Beard said Smokey Robinson was pretty jacked up too, but he was one of the greatest songwriters of the past. However many, it's so many Tracks of My Tears. I love that one. Cruising, but
I haven't seen him recently.
yeah, he played at Atlantic City down here. It was $75 a pop. Otherwise, Jen and I would have shot down there on the New Jersey Transit and checked him out. I think he was at Harrah's or one of those casinos. But before I got off track there a bit, we're talking about a part 4, and I was trying to think of how a part 4 would work. And one thing I was thinking of is maybe like all the baddies from the first 3 to join together, for like some really big baddie extravaganza. If like you had Eric Roberts and Van Damme.
Eric Roberts. Nobody does cry face like Eric Roberts.
Oh, and he could do a good one, like talking about wanting his revenge. He could do it like maybe even like telenovela style, right? Maybe even have it in Spanish while he's talking about wanting his revenge, right? He could be in Mexico, in hiding, wanting to get his revenge on Stallone, and he just says something in Spanish, and his like he said, the big cry face comes out. But
he's all wet and
yeah,
scrunches it up, and it's just great.
Oh, put him with with Van Damme and with what's his face with Mel Gibson, and maybe even bring in some crazy guy like Jeremy Irons or somebody who like had their DNA and cloned them and brought them back to life as I don't know, some kind of just or Alan Rickman. Can you imagine Alan Rickman as like this rich like extreme billionaire baddie who brings these 3 guys back to life, and of course they plot against him or something. Who knows what happens? But that's what we need here. We need some kind of battle royale thing. And Stallone, if you want to go 2 hours with this group, I will do it. And then for the good guys, you got to stick with your core older ones. Bring back Rourke if you don't have a problem with him. If you can't pay Bruce Willis, I understand, but you need to take that money that you're not paying Bruce Willis, and you need to get Cynthia Rothrock, you need to get Pam Grier. We need the whole crew here. You got to come back strong after this one, and it needs to be R-rated. If you need to go NC-17, that's fine. Do they still have NC-17?
Yeah, I think so. If he brought back all those people, Bruce Willis would be a dumbass to not be involved. I mean, I don't care if they paid him at all. He should want to show up.
Yeah, and
you want to be a team player.
That's it. And I want Ronda Rousey as a baddie, as Mel Gibson's henchman, and I want her choking out Kellen Lutz. That's what I want. I want that to start my movie, and then from there, just go nuts. And if he's gonna get it, if he's gonna do number 4, it's gotta be big, because he laid a dud in this one here.
He kind of dropped the ball a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, I thought part 2 was a step down from part 1, but part 3. Like you said, he dropped the ball, and we need him back. He's got to come back if he wants to bring it, because that was this one. Yeah. If he's gonna get us for a part 4, he's really got to sell it. Otherwise, I'm done with it. I can't do it. I don't want to see. The only way I'm seeing Kellen Lutz is if he gets a chokehold from Ronda Rousey. That's it. So Jimmy, how about you? What were your thoughts? Same thing, right? You feel like this thing was a ball drop. What would you say to somebody who sees it on Netflix? I mean, is it the only thing I would say? Beefy Beard said Hulk Hogan as the baddie with all the racism. Yeah, he'd make great scenes with Wesley Snipes too.
Hulk Hogan and Mel Gibson could team up and be racist together.
Oh, the dual racist baddies. That would be a lot of fun. That would be good. But this film seems to have what my dad always called the baseball. He had an approach to watching baseball games, and the way he felt was, you fall asleep by the 3rd inning, wake up by the 7th or 8th inning, and you get the whole game.
Well, yeah, because in reality, it doesn't really matter what happens in the middle.
Right.
And if there are any like major highlights, you're going to catch them on the news later. So
Exactly.
if anything
Exactly.
crazy happens, like, I don't know, a Braves fan falls to their death again.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
did
Yes.
you hear
Oh,
about that?
I
It was
did. That's horrible.
like, God damn. And Brian's like, maybe they should invest in railings. I'm like, they have railings.
They have them. Yeah. It's just
It's just that, oh, people.
yes.
What are you going to do?
I know.
But, if something big happens, you can always catch the highlights on the news.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, as long as you get the beginning, see how good they're going. By the time the third inning comes along and you get the stretch, you have an idea, who's going to be in the lead. But then you can take a little nap for a while, come back, catch the end of the game, and then, it's all good.
Yeah. And so this is what I would call a baseball movie.
I think that's an excellent analogy, and I second that.
Yeah.
Because I love the beginning of this, and the whole, I have fun with the whole part where we unleash Wesley Snipes, and even up to the point where we're with Kelsey Grammer going, because I like him. But then that middle part, just snooze fest.
Yeah.
And then wake me up when it's time for the big battle.
Yep, exactly, and that was it. That was it. So, if you're on Netflix, I think maybe watching the beginning, and then if you're on a Roku, you're on your computer, you're on your phone, whatever, however you're watching this, probably not on your phone because you really want
to. Go to the bathroom and come back. Go do some dishes and come
yeah.
back.
Do your thing, yeah, or even just hit that fast forward button and just skip right ahead to the point where they're on a plane and Banderas says, "Who are those guys?" and you're back in it, you're set to go. Otherwise, that's it, and you're all set. But otherwise, Beefy Beard said microchip in the brain of Rousey. That would be fantastic if they did the old microchip in the brain thing and brainwashed her so she was a baddie for the next film. That's always a good move. I remember growing up there was a Super Friends or Marvel Superheroes cartoon where that happened to Captain America and he was a bad guy, and I always hated watching that episode. I always thought that was like, yeah, because it was just like nobody knew. Everybody thought Captain America was bad because he was doing all these bad things, and I was like, I want to go through the screen almost like a Who's on First routine and just tell everybody, stop it, he's been brainwashed, he's got a little dart in the back of his head, you gotta fix him, but
like when Superman was bad.
Yes, exactly.
That made me sad. I don't. That is sad. But with her, that would be fun.
We'd go for it. We'd go for it. Well, Jamie, we went a little bit over, but it's up to you if you want to keep going. At this point, I'm going to have to cut this episode into two, no matter what, because we've gone over. But it's been a few weeks, so Jamie, what have you been up to?
Well, just today, Gary and I, for Cinema Beef Podcast, did an interview with Tom Holland, which was really fun. We talked about him writing Psycho 2 and Fright Night and Cloak and Dagger and the Initiation of Sarah and The Beast Within. I mean, we were just all over the place, just talking about everything. He got really in-depth about Fright Night and Psycho 2 especially. So, also some Cloak and Dagger stuff. And it was that was really fun. He was really gracious. He gave us an hour of his time.
Wow.
Which was very generous. And that was a lot of fun. So I'm glad I did that. So people can check that out on a future episode of the Cinema Beef Podcast. And I think you'll enjoy it. If you're a Tom Holland fan, I think you'll definitely enjoy that. Other than that, we've got an Evil Episodes that we're going to be recording tomorrow night where we're going to be talking about, and I'm really excited about this. This was my idea. But, we do TV on Evil Episodes. And there was a 1973 TV movie with Jack Palance as Dracula. It was a Bram Stoker's Dracula that was written by Richard Matheson and directed by Dan Curtis. And I loved this movie when I was a kid. I was all about it. And just Jack Palance. If you ever watched him growing up doing Ripley's Believe It or Not, it was Ripley's Believe It or Not. He used to always creep me out. And then I would see this Dracula film, and now thinking back on it, I can't wait to revisit it because thinking back on him, I'm like, God, those facial expressions that he would do. I'm kind of picturing them going almost into comical, but I'm really excited to see it. I used to love it when I was a kid, so we're going to be talking about that. And then, of course, Scream the series has wrapped up. We're going to be talking about that and everything else that's on TV now. The new show, Fear the Walking Dead, we'll be talking about that. So you can catch up with all the latest TV stuff. And that's pretty much it that I've been doing podcast-wise. Other than that, I've just been working and surviving this weird weather because it'll be in the 60s one day and in the 90s the next day, and I don't know what the hell's going on. It's very confusing. It's like the heat is way too close to Georgia, and I'm like, I don't want any of this, because this sucks. Then we'll have some really nice cool days, and then here comes the heat again, and I don't know. I'm ready for fall. I want October. I want my Halloween. I want my Halloween candy and my Halloween foods and my monster cereals. I'm in the cool weather. I am ready for fall. I'm sick of summer. So, that's pretty much what's been going on. We did go see Sinister 2 in the theater. That was not great. I really enjoyed the first one, but this one, I think it was lacking pretty severely. We saw The Gift with Jason Bateman. That was really good. I recommend that film. That was a good one. I don't think it might still be in the theater, but I don't know. And looking forward to going to see The Visit, the new M. Night Shyamalan film. I've heard good things about it. So, it's been a while since he's made anything that wowed me, but I'm always willing to give him a shot because I do think he's talented. I'm not one of those people that groans whenever I hear his name. I actually am looking forward to this. So that's about it.
Well, when you said M. Night Shyamalan, I remember when I think the first one he did was The Sixth Sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I remember when we first heard his name, my friend Petrowski and I would just like joke, like we just thought that was the funniest last name, Shyamalan. So we just like Shyamalama Ding Dong and Shyamalan, and, and all of those, and we thought we were hilarious. Oh, Shyamalama Ding Dong, oh Shyamalan, but I actually I don't know if I've seen any of his movies, because I never saw The Sixth Sense. I never made it happen.
Well, I mean, he did have some really good ones. I mean, The Sixth Sense is excellent. The Unbreakable is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I happen to be a fan of Signs. Most people aren't, but I am.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked The Village. Where that one had people all up in arms. Like, everybody was all pissed off about that movie. I liked that movie. Mm-hmm. Then it stops right there. I mean, he had some others after that, like Lady in the Water, but I didn't really care for that one. The Happening, I think, just sort of fell flat, and it was, led by Wahlberg, so there's that. It's like, oh, no, don't kill me, bro.
Yeah,
talking to the trees.
Right. Oh, Donnie, I'm in a movie where the vegetables eat me. I don't know what I'm going to do, Donnie. Donnie, what am I going to do? It's hard acting with a movie like this.
Oh, yeah, he was, oh, man, goodness.
Yeah, he's yeah.
But, I have heard good things about this one. It doesn't show it from the trailers, but it is apparently, it looks like pretty much creepy horror in the trailers, but it is apparently a horror comedy. There are quite a few comedic elements, but I've heard that works. So I'm anxious to see it. I don't know. Do you ever watch YouTube channels? Like there's a YouTube channel called Good Bad Flicks.
Mm-hmm. And I've never heard of it.
It's really good. You should look it up. Cecil is the guy who runs that show. And he talks about, you would really, I think, dig it because he talks about crazy shit. Like movies that, he does do some mainstream stuff, but he talks about stuff that nobody ever talks about as well. And some really just, like, he digs up some really fun gems. And he does action movies, he does horror movies, he does, he's kind of all over the place. But just look up Good Bad Flicks and then kind of run through his catalog, and they're pretty short reviews that he does, but they're entertaining. Anyway, we usually agree. Like, we're pretty much right on top of each other as far as opinions go. It's rare that I don't agree with something he says. And so he was talking about The Visit, and gave it, he was very positive about it. And so that kind of makes me excited because I trust him. So I'm thrilled.
Well, that sounds
You should
cool.
definitely see The Sixth Sense.
I know.
Or Unbreakable. I think you'd get a kick out of Unbreakable.
I know. Well, The Sixth Sense, it's like I get the whole I see dead. When people make jokes of, like I see dead people, like I know the joke, and of course at this point I know the plot twist because everybody's already said it however many millions of times. So it's like I feel like I've seen the movie even though I've never seen it. But yeah, and it's funny. I don't know how I've made it this far without having seen it. So it's just it's M. Night Shyamalan. I'll have to get in there and check it out. Now, as far as what I have had going on, it's a whole lot of nothing, a whole lot of nada. I have I've barely been able to make our podcast happen. I would love to get on there and do some more blog posts. I'm hoping to get back at it soon. Between when Jen and I went away, I kind of had to stack up as much work as possible. But like I said, I was dealing with migraines the week before. And then we got back, and I was like trying to work enough, at the end of the month with my job. So I had to we get paid monthly. So, every hour I teach, before the end of the month goes my paycheck at the, this month. So it was like we got back from vacation on the 28th. I had to make the 29th, 30, the whole rest of the weekend, cram as many classes in. So it's just been this whole oh my god, I got to get everything done kind of deal. So it was it's been a mess to try to get caught up with all kinds of work from work because I left it behind. So I'm hoping to get back at it, maybe get some blog posts up soon. But at the very least, we got back in here. I also realized that I had not put the Roddy Piper episode in the archives yet. It's up on iTunes. It's on TalkShoe. So it's there. If you subscribe to iTunes, you'd have it. But I realized I have not put it in the archives page yet. So it's been 3 weeks since that one has gone up. So probably when I get this one up there, which will be a two-parter, of course, because it's so long, I will get the next. I'll get that Piper one up as well. So you'll at least have those on the archive page. But remember, you can always go to the main blog page to get the most recent episodes because the moment I get them on TalkShoe, the RSS feed goes up there as well. So hopefully we'll make that happen. But hey, we got back tonight, so thank you all for listening, for sticking with us a little longer. I figured we went a little longer because we had such a hiatus, but it was fun to be back, Jamie, and chatting about movies again.
Yeah, I definitely missed it, and I don't mind a chunky show to come back. I think that made it fun. We had a lot to say. This is a film which we definitely didn't run out of things to talk about. That's for sure.
Yes. Yeah, this was a no asides episode, an hour and a half with no asides. I think we could go in the Guinness Book of World.
Except for in the very beginning. We were off track for a little bit in the beginning, but, whatever. That's what we do. That's what we do.
We're known for our size, right? All right. Well, again, thank you all for listening. Jamie, great to see you again, and look forward to our next show together. But everybody, have a great night, and thanks for coming back.
Yep, thanks, everyone.
Privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out.
The pandemic has been hard on all our kids. New studies show more than 1 in 3 children who started school in the pandemic now need intensive reading help. That's right. Millions of kids in kindergarten through 3rd grade in the United States cannot read at grade level. Here's the good news. Your child can be reading in just 30 days, guaranteed, with Hooked on Phonics. Even if your child has been struggling, Hooked on Phonics will teach your child to read in just 30 days, guaranteed. And right now, you can get started for just $1 $1. Text the word GRADE to 323232 right now. Hooked on Phonics is highly effective and incredibly fun, and everything can be done right from home and in less than 20 minutes a day. For more than 30 years, Hooked on Phonics has been the proven learn-to-read program that kids love to use. Text GRADE to 323232 and teach your child to read in just 30 days, guaranteed. Text GRADE to 323232 right now and get started for just $1. Text GRADE to 323232 now. Text GRADE to 323232.